Three young boys, just 8, 10 and 11 years old, have died after falling into an icy lake in Solihull. Another child, who is 6 years old, is fighting for his life in hospital. Earlier today, the Prime Minister praised the efforts of those who tried to save those children, including one police officer who desperately punched through the ice in a race to reach them. Well, Toby Sadler is live for us tonight in Solihull. Toby, the community must be understandably devastated this evening.
Yeah, I mean, this is the most awful situation. Heartbreaking for the parents of those children who've died. Today we did hear more about those efforts to try and save them. Members of the public joining firefighters and police officers wading waist deep into that icy water in an attempt to save these children. The officer you mentioned, who was punching his way through the ice, had to be taken to hospital with hypothermia. Now, despite all of those heroic efforts, of course, these children couldn't be saved. And also a warning today, or concerns today, that there could have been more victims in the lake. The fear is that more children are still in the lake, but the time and temperature mean this is no longer a rescue operation. Calls to 999 yesterday suggested more children were seen falling through the ice.
We have to be 100% certain that there is no one else possibly in the water at this time. It's important to stress, though, that we've had no contact from anybody suggesting that there's anybody else missing. But until we're 100% certain, we will be carrying on searches throughout the course of today.
For others, they're doing what they can. For some, that meant making coffee for the fire crews. Others brought flowers.
You relate to it because I've got a daughter who's she's 5.5, nearly 6. I've got an 8-year-old, a 10-year-old. So you imagine if it was us walking the dogs one day and one of our kids slipped in, it's horrible to even imagine what the parents are going through.
And mum Zoe is left imagining what could have happened to her son, who she says was friends with one of the boys who died.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it at all. It's knocked me sick thinking that my boy could be lost as well. You know, it's just that he's got his new telly and his new game that he didn't go out and play because he would have been out.
Gut-wrenching for everyone here. And today, a warning for those families imagining if it had been their children in that lake.
Yesterday's incident is a stark reminder to us all of the dangers of open water, especially during the winter months. Frozen lakes, ponds, canals and reservoirs can look picturesque, but they can be lethal. And there are no greater warnings of this than yesterday's tragic events. We would ask parents and carers to remind their children of the dangers of ice and why they must keep off it. Please help us to avoid this from happening again.
This is a community in pain. Everyone now doing what they can to support the families of the children who died.
And I imagine, Toby, lots of people thinking about the fourth boy as well, who's in hospital. What more do we know?
Of course, he's just 6 years old, in hospital. The last update we had from police said he was still in a critical condition. So obviously fingers crossed for him and his family. Meanwhile, of course, we've been thinking about the friends and family of the other boys, 8, 10 and 11. They, of course, go to school around here. So specialist officers are making sure they're talking to teachers so that anyone who's friends of theirs who will, of course, be grieving will get the support they need. And, of course, spare a thought for the emergency crews who put themselves at risk to save these children. They came here while we were setting up. They came and had a quiet vigil by the flowers you will have seen in my report, heads bowed. The only sound we could hear was the local people giving them respectful applause.
Awful time for the families involved. Toby, thank you very much. That's Toby Sadler with the latest on that story.